Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, the 13th day of the Omer. Dan Marino, for those who are counting. And I wanted to, first of all, thank everybody for taking part in our Yom HaShoah program online. It was a really well done program, in my opinion, and we had a lot of people from the shul participating, so kol kavod, and I think it was very meaningful, especially given the circumstances of not being able to actually be together. So thank you for that. Please continue to daven for Mordechai ben Elka, for Ivan Sobel, and also Rabbi Rosenblum informed me that they now, for his father, have added a name. So when you daven for Rabbi Yisrael's father, please say the name Rafael Zev ben Rickel. Harav Rafael Zev ben Rickel. Please, if you have the opportunity today, just take a minute and say one chapter of Tehillim. You could say Psalm 121, Psalm 130, or any of them. And please make a mishuberach. Please daven for the refuah shalema of both of our families, our members and family. Really going through a very, very challenging time. So I know the family greatly appreciates it, and every single prayer helps. So please do that. I wanted to continue with our study of Pirkei Avos today, and we're still in the first chapter, as we're in the first week of studying Pirkei Avos. And we continue with the pairs. I'm going to go to Perek Aleph Mishna Yud Bes. That's chapter 1, Mishnah 12. And here we have Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai, who are rather well known in Talmudic circles, as it would be, because of their many disputes. And we normally paskin, like we would say, Beis Hillel, the house of Hillel, versus the house of Shammai. And there are many characters named Hillel in the Talmud, but this Hillel and Shammai were the two zugos. And actually, in the first time in the Mishnah, we have multiple Mishnahs attributed to one person. So it says Hillel, Shammai, Kibla Mehem, and then we have a couple of sayings from Hillel. But I want to focus on the first one. Again, it's one of those well-known ones, but certainly not worth, not a reason that we can't repeat it and learn something from it. So the Mishnah reads as follows: Hillel, Shammai, Kibla Mehem. Hillel and Shammai received from their forebears, which was Shmai and Avatalion. And Hillel Omer, Have me Talmidav Shel Aharon, Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Ohev Es Habrios Mekarvan La Torah. Hillel used to say, you should be like the disciples, or from the disciples of Aharon HaKohen, Aaron the high priest. Aaron the high priest, of course, we're reading now the book of Vayikra. If you remember the time when we used to lane and we used to read Torah, but we are now in the book of Vayikra, and I actually, parenthetically, I had a thought of when we finally get back to shul of, the somber rolling of the Torah over all the parashas that we missed. They're still way back in the middle of Shemos, and now we're going to have to go somewhere in the middle of Vayikra, I hope. But the book of Vayikra is called Toras Kohanim, has all the service of Aaron HaKohen. It was in last week's parsha, in Parsha Shemini, when we had opening day, and Aaron had to serve as the high priest. But Aaron HaKohen, besides the ritual matters that he performed in the Mishkan, in the time in the Midbar, in the tabernacle, he was also very much in touch with the people. And I'll explain in a moment. And the Talmidim, the disciples of Aaron, he says, act as follows: Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Ohev Es Habrios Mekarvan La Torah. They love peace, Rodev Shalom, they say they pursue peace, they love people, and they draw them close to the Torah. So let's look at that one piece at a time. Ohev Shalom, someone who loves peace. So we're told that when Moshe Rabbeinu dies at the end of the 5 books of the Chumash, and we read it on Simchas Torah, it says that the Jewish people mourned the death of Moshe Rabbeinu. However, when Aaron HaKohen dies in Parshas Chukas, we're told that all of Israel, the entire corpus of the children of Israel, everybody mourned for Aaron, which does not say for Moshe, which seems kind of unusual. But that's because Aaron was sort of the people person. Aaron was very much in touch with the masses, whereas Moshe probably was not. Moshe was probably not necessarily approachable. Maybe he was even hard on people, who knows? But they certainly had a different demeanor. But Aaron, and we're told, and Chazal tell us that Aaron was somebody who would seek out people, let's say, that were having disputes, and he would try to find a way to have a path towards conflict resolution. And he would help all those who needed some sort of assistance with family disputes, spousal disputes, something we discussed last Friday about the difficulties that are happening now in this confinement, that people have a hard time with conflict resolution. But Aaron was certainly that. So a person should love peace. But not only that, Rodev Shalom, a person should go out of his way to try and make peace with others. Now, some interpret this in different ways, because the word rodef normally means, when we talk about a rodef, we talk about a pursuer, which really means intends to destroy. But sometimes in order to make peace, sometimes you have to knock over a few tables. Sometimes you have to do things that are unpleasant. That doesn't mean you have to always have a happy and quiet demeanor, and that getting peace means that, we don't make anybody upset. No, sometimes you have to make people upset, and sometimes you have to do things that maybe are uncomfortable for some, ultimately for the sake of peace. The problem is that people think, oh, well, my cause is really so important, and therefore, when I'm making peace, I'm looking at the ultimate goal, and whatever methods I take are irrelevant. That's not the case. But here, when it says rodef shalom, that a person has to do, if it's for the true purpose of peace, certainly peace in Klal Yisrael, then one has to try and be active. If you have an ability to be instrumental in creating peace, then you should indeed do so if you're the students of Aharon. Oev es habrios, you have to love the brios. Notice the language that the Mishnah uses. It says you have to love brios, which means the creations of God. It doesn't say Ohev es hayidin. It doesn't say you have to love the Jews. It doesn't say you have to love the religious Jews. It doesn't say you have to love the people you like. It says Ohev es habrios, you have to love people. One of the most difficult things that we have in this world is liking people. I think during this period we have seen the very, very best in people. We've seen the very worst. But the Mishnah requires that if you're going to be like Aaron or the disciples of Aaron, you have to like people, not just people like you. And I think we've seen a lot of that, certainly in recent weeks, where people are really, really flourishing, and they're helping those that they would never have anything to do with, and people are appreciating those they would never have anyone to do with. And I think that's certainly a very, very important note that we have to have during this time, and hopefully it's something that will continue well beyond this pandemic. And finally, it says Mekarvan la Torah. We have to bring people close to Torah. Obviously, this is probably referring to Jewish people, but we want to bring people close to Torah. How do you do so? By making Torah accessible. So the very fact that we have this interaction, albeit I'm speaking into a camera and you're maybe watching to the end or not, but it's accessible. It's there. We're trying to bring people close to Torah. We're trying to make Torah accessible. And one of the great things that we have in our society today with the advent of technology and everything that's in print and everything that's online is that there's no excuse for somebody to say, I'm not close to Torah. There's no excuse to somebody to say that Torah is not accessible to me. There's so many different ways that a person can have access to Torah. You just have to open up your mind, open up your heart, and maybe click on the mouse a few times, and Torah will be right there at your fingertips. So with this Mishnah teaching today, we're introduced to Hillel, who teaches us that we want to be the students of Aharon HaKohen, the students of the high priest, who loved peace. He really went out of his way to make sure there was peace. He loved everyone, and he spent a lot of his time, if not all of his time, when he wasn't in the service of the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash, that was traveling in the Midbar, bringing people closer to Torah. We should follow in their footsteps. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.